Hey friends, Alvin here. Welcome to chapter 2 of our book club. We have been going through the book Youth Ministry Now and Not Yet. And so today we're going to be looking at chapter 2, what it means to be making this investment. And so we are pleased to have Matt Wilkinson returning with us. Matt is the director of Next Generation Ministries with CBOQ and the author of the book. And so we're going to spend some time just looking and just picking apart some parts of chapter 2 here for our call today. And so would you welcome Matt Wilkinson?
Wonderful. It's great to be with all of you here on the call and those who will be continuing to watch and track with us over through this study together. It is an exciting time to be in youth ministry. No doubt there's as we look at the life of the church and where we're navigating through right now, we know that there is challenges and we know that as we walk through and go, what is it to be effective in youth work? We're looking at how do we help raise up the next generation to continue to follow in the ways of the Lord? How do we raise up the next generation that we're reaching the next generation so that they can engage with the person and message of Jesus? It's a great question that we want to be asking ourselves when we say, how do we lead healthy ministries in light of our ever-changing world? And so often our default to go to is, what's the next program I need to lead? What's the next experience I need to create? How do we foster this community more effectively? All great areas to look into, all wonderful things that we have to address and unpack to lead towards having a healthy youth ministry, an effective youth ministry. But one of the elements we tend to overlook that I think undermines a lot of what actually will lead to a healthy and effective youth ministry is asking ourselves, what is the investment that we need to have to be able to see ministry be effective? I want to unpack that there's four areas that we have to look at collectively and holistically in order for ministries to be effective of reaching and engaging the next generation. And it's not just primarily rooted around, I need money to be effective, or I need to have a certain program to be effective, but to begin to say, what's the bigger picture as we step out, and who is investing into and being part of it? Is it just the role of the point ministry youth leader, or is actually the role of many other elements? The larger part of the collective work of the church, the collective work of the church leadership, of parents, of the broader community. It really is quite a larger unpacking. So as we look at the second chapter here of Youth Ministry Now and Not Yet, we begin by being reminded that there is a very unique opportunity that we have with young people. In their teen years, it is the most significant time by which a young person makes a decision to choose to follow Jesus. So we have a high responsibility that we invest into this next generation really well. That it's just nothing casual or something that we just get to do on the side, this kind of stuff, but actually a primary mission and role of the church, as we see in Psalm 78, is to invest in and walk with the next generation, so they in turn will invest in the next generation, will invest into those who are not yet born. We see that in Psalm 78, we're reminded of the importance, and that's a model of mentoring, of sharing life together, of really demonstrating what it is to live in the ways, and not just hear the ways, but how do we communicate those in the way that we talk, as well as the way that we live and serve together. So as we unpack those areas together, what we begin to see is that there's four areas to say, hey, how are we doing in these four ways of investing into youth ministry or into the ministry to the next generation in the local church? The first one is the quality of the support network that's in place for the ministry and for the point ministry leader. The question to be asking is the congregation on board? Does a larger church seeing the value of the ministry to the next generation? Or is it merely a siloed area that is to look after itself and babysitting and just let's make sure that the kids and youth are well behaved, and we'll put them over here, and when they get old enough, then they can join real church? Or is the congregation say, we have an ownership and to care, to invest into, to pray and support and champion the next generation? Out of that would be the demonstration of support of a support network, is where the church is saying, actually, we want to see youth as part of our larger church family, involved in multiple roles, not just on a youth Sunday or not just through a youth-driven activity, but is actively part of the life of the church. When we look at the idea of a support network, it also unpacks the idea as a point ministry leader. Are we giving space for our point ministry leaders to have a healthy investment to be able to pour into their family? Are they having a home field advantage? Are they winning on on the home front with their investment into their family? The investment that they have in terms of time to their own friends, their own peer group that they can walk with, their own chance to be involved with people that are outside of a church or Christian context that they can be investing into those lives, into social life. Are we helping our point ministry leaders have a holistic and healthy investment into the world around them? And finally, are we as point ministry youth leaders really taking time to pour into our soul? A support network, a healthy youth ministry is not just what we do, but where is it? Is it the overflow of what we're doing in ministry? What we're doing in our own soul. So often it's hard not to read our Bible or just get into God's word or spend time in prayer without trying to think of like, how does this apply to ministry? How does this help me write the next Bible study? How does this help me resource or support a youth worker or a student? We have to remember that a healthy support network is one as a point ministry leader, that we're out looking after our own soul, that we are growing closer in our walk with Jesus, that we are getting to our own personal growth with him. It's the first area. A second area of where we're making the investment really counts is in those supportive resources. We have to look at and see there's no doubt, no question about it, that finances play a role of helpfulness in what we can do in youth ministry. Now, it's important as youth ministry workers that we look at things realistically, that we see, we would like more budget. We would like more dollars to be doing this or this or that. Make sure that the role of youth ministry's budget is seen in a healthy percentage comparison to what is being invested in the rest of the church. It's important to advocate for the necessary funds to support the ministry, but it needs to be seen as not the only thing, but as part of the larger picture or part of the larger investment of what it is for the church to invest into the whole family of the church and the community around them, and yet having a priority of financial investment into the next generation. There is also the importance when it comes to support resource is to say, how am I looking at resources beyond just that what the church can provide? It's asking the question, is there resources that I can tap into from a denominational level? Is there a place is there additional supports that are in the youth ministry world that may be found online, or organizations that are providing specialty resources that I can get access to? And to look and say, how am I accessing those resources and applying those resources? That I don't simply run as a lone ranger, but rather go, hey, how do I see who's already doing things well and be able to filter those things in and use those in my own ministry context so that I've actually have more time allocated to doing some of the things that I can't have the resources to do, but I need to provide on my own. Finally, the important part of the support of the human resource, the support of the church to come around and say, how do we help do volunteer recruitment? Those of us involved in youth work know the challenge that it is to have volunteers who are fully invested into the lives of students, walking and sharing life with them. And when we were able to see the value of the senior pastor and church leadership, deacons, elders, church members saying, hey, how do we play a role, or how do we help bring on key volunteers? It is a huge way to build the health of the ministry. And finally, around the area of support resources, is we have to ask ourselves in youth ministry, do we have the necessary technological tools to do the ministry that we're required to do? There's no question that when young people are looking at their world is being shaped by both the physical world as well as the digital world, and together it creates their real world. And so do we have the technological tools in order to communicate to them, interact with them, relate with them, and help be able to walk alongside of them? And so that's one of the things to be able to assess and look back and be able to talk with them, saying a healthy ministry is one where churches that we want to invest in to make sure that you have the proper tools to do what you need to do. The third area is the idea of the support for ongoing professional development. This is one of the key areas that often gets overlooked by point ministry leaders. That we get so preoccupied in all of the doing and all of the delivering on and all of the activities and the scheduling and the calendar and the meetings and the budgeting that we actually forget to look at our own way of how are we continuing to develop in our understanding of the role of youth ministry, what's happening in youth ministry, how to be most equipped. I often spoke of the importance that, like in the medical field, The medical world continues to do professional development. They continue to find the latest research, learn the latest research, find the latest tools, access the latest tools and devices in medicine to be able to be most effective of caring for the patients. It's no different in youth ministry, or it shouldn't be. We need to prioritize our own professional development. We need to understand if we're going to lead a healthy youth ministry, is to actually carve out time in our calendars, in our schedules, to be reading, time that's set aside to meet with a mentor, to meet with a coach. Those are two different elements that's unpacked a little bit more in this chapter. But it really looks at a mentor of someone who's sharing life with you, a coach that helps ask the good questions and draws things out of you. But ask yourself, who's mentoring me? I'm taking time to actually be poured into so I can lead out of an overflow of that. Professional development is one where it's saying, how am I making time, or is there time for my senior pastor or supervisor, an associate pastor, someone who's I'm responsible to, who is walking with me, mentoring me, not just speaking at me, not just directing me, not just doing performance stuff, but it's really important to be healthy in ministry and see how ministry thrive. It's professional development where you're walking and having a dialogue, a two-way dialogue, where you're being supported and encouraged by this person at the same time as being challenged to how you can be more effective, and that these are regular times of connecting together. And finally, that you have access to the finances to help with, how do I have books to read the latest stuff, or online blogs or online resources to help me be aware of how the times are changing? How do I address the cultural issues of our day? How do I navigate and understand where students are at? To be able to attend conferences, to find out what is it that, while the gospel never changes, how we communicate with student does. How we meet with them and interact with them is changing. How do we be up to the date on the latest policies and procedures that ensure that we have healthy and well-protected environments for students to thrive in? We want to make sure that we're looking at how are we continuing to grow in our professional development, and that it's not just something that we do on the side, but that we prioritize it, even within our various calendars, to make sure it becomes a top priority. And the final area of investment is the investment of how you feel empowered in leadership and strategic planning. The Point Ministry youth leaders need to feel empowered by the larger church, to look for ways to be able to lead, as well as to have an intentional strategic plan. So the first part is for youth ministry workers, Point Ministry leaders, youth pastors, it's important that they have a job description, that in it has clear goals and objectives. When you know what your clear goals are, objectives, measurables that you can attain and then look at, it allows you to have a clear direction. This is where we're going. This is what I'm being assessed on. And now I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so this is actually really important. It's not just a piece of paper that is a logistics thing to do, but it's actually something that's very helpful to be able to frame your time and frame what am I able to do in the season and to be able to deliver on that well. It's also a way to respect the leadership of the Point Ministry leader. Secondly, Point youth ministry leaders need to be involved in shaping the larger church vision. It's important that they're welcomed into key conversations, that it's not just what they're directed to do, but rather that their opinion matters, that their insights are valued, that they become the voice of the youth and the next generation while shaping the calendar of the church, the direction of the church, the values and the mission of the church. That they are part of it. They're not on their own. They've got to lead from second seat when it comes to ministry to the next generation. But in that, what is it to make sure that they're able to lead? It's important that youth pastors, the Point Ministry leaders, are trusted to make final decisions, to manage their budgets, to interact and communicate with parents, to create the framework by which youth ministry thrives. One of the best experiences I had in my own youth ministry context was in a board meeting presenting the future plan, the strategic plan of youth ministry. At the end of that gathering, at the end of that meeting, I was asked, it sounds like you're asking us permission to do these things. I said, well, I thought that's what I was supposed to bring the board to do. And the board said, no, our role is to make sure that you're resourced because you're the specialist in youth ministry. You let us know where we need to go. And then our role is to help resource you. And that would be a healthy dynamic within the church relationship with leadership in youth ministry. And so finally, as youth workers, here's what it is to invest in. You need to have three areas that you are really intentional about. One is that you're intentional to have a strategic plan for the year ahead, that you build a strategic plan. Secondly, that you have a leadership plan that you share with your supervisor of how you are going to develop in your own leadership and your own learning goals. And finally, that you're going to be able to have a plan that articulates back your goals and your own mission of how you're fulfilling the larger church mission within the mission of the youth ministry, and how that is able to see a strategic direction. That it's not just, hey, we're going to try this and do this, but have a reason for why we do what we do. And that gives you kind of, you're not driven by the program, you're driven by the mission. It happens then that you might become rooted in being a mentoring community. You might have programs like midweek Bible studies, missions trips, retreats, but you understand why you do what you do and be able to communicate that clearly. So there you have it. 4 areas on investing in what really counts. And we want to invest in those areas: developing a support network, having support resources, make sure you've got professional development, and see the empowerment of leadership and doing strategic planning for the moment and for the years ahead. There we go. Chapter 2. More to come as we continue to look at what it is to build healthy youth ministries that will reach and engage this next generation with the person and message of Jesus.
Well, thanks, Matt, for helping us to unpack chapter 2. And chapter 3, our next meeting for chapter 3 for the book club is happening on Thursday, December the 3rd. So it's coming up pretty soon. The recap for this video, as well as for chapter 1, will be available at cboq.ch/book club. And so as you continue to delve into what it means to invest in this next generation and how your church might be able to do that well, hopefully these conversations will continue on. And by all means, if you still need to pick Matt's brain further, feel free to reach out to him by email. And that will be listed in the description as well. So blessings to you.